Introduction: Beyond the Maze, a journey through change and belief. When Who Moved My Cheese ended, one question remained: what happened to him, the one who refused to leave? And out of the maze, Spencer Johnson returns to finish that story. Once again, he uses a simple parable to explore one of life's hardest challenges: letting go of old beliefs when everything around us changes. Hem's journey is one of fear, resistance, and ultimately awakening. After losing his cheese, the symbol of success, comfort, and happiness, he isolates himself, trapped not by walls but by his own thinking. He waits, hoping the past will return. But the world has moved on. Then something shifts. Hem begins to wonder, what if the old beliefs that once kept me safe are now holding me back? That single question sets him on a new path of discovery. Along the way, he learns that getting out of the maze isn't about escaping the world around you. It's about escaping the thoughts that keep you stuck. Through Hem's transformation, Spencer Johnson shows that change isn't our enemy. Fear and rigidity are. When we change what we believe, we change what becomes possible. This story is about courage, curiosity, and renewal. It reminds us that when life moves our cheese again, as it always will, the real maze to escape is the one in our minds. Chapter 1: Losing What We Take for Granted. Our story begins where Who Moved My Cheese left off. Two little people, Hem and Ha, once lived in a maze, feasting daily on an endless supply of cheese at Cheese Station C. For them, the cheese wasn't just food. It represented happiness, comfort, and success. It was life as they knew it. Every morning, they came to the station, confident the cheese would always be there. Over time, they stopped exploring the maze. They stopped wondering. They stopped preparing. The cheese, it seemed, had become permanent. But one morning, everything changed. The cheese was gone. Ha accepted the truth, faced his fear, and ventured out to find something new. Hem refused. He couldn't believe the cheese, his cheese, would simply disappear. So he stayed, trapped in denial, anger, and loneliness. Days turn to weeks. The walls of the maze feel tighter. Hem feels hungrier, weaker, and angrier, not just at the world, but at Ha for leaving him behind. He clings to the hope that things will return to normal, but deep down, he knows they won't. The maze, of course, is a metaphor for life. The cheese represents anything we value: success, security, relationships, routines. When we have it, we assume it will last forever. But when it's gone, we realize how fragile comfort really is. Hem's story reminds us that the hardest loss isn't what we lose. It's the belief that it would always be there. When the world shifts, we can choose to stay angry or start adapting. But staying still doesn't bring the cheese back. It only deepens the hunger. Chapter 2: The Fear of Change and the Comfort of Belief. As Hem remains alone in Cheese Station C, the emptiness begins to gnaw at him, both physically and emotionally. The walls that once felt secure now feel like a prison. Yet, despite his growing discomfort, he's still afraid to leave. Why? Because he believes the maze beyond the station is too dangerous, too uncertain. Hem's fear isn't just about survival, it's about identity. For so long, he believed that his happiness depended on that one place and that one kind of cheese. To venture out would mean questioning everything he's ever known. This fear of change feels safer than the risk of disappointment. And so, Hem convinces himself that waiting is wiser than exploring. Johnson captures this internal struggle beautifully. We often prefer familiar misery to unfamiliar possibility. But change is patient. Days turn into weeks, and the hunger becomes unbearable. Hem starts hearing a quiet inner voice, one he hasn't listened to in a long time. It whispers, what if the cheese isn't coming back? What if there's something better out there? At first, Hem rejects the thought. He tells himself that leaving is foolish, that he'll get lost, that he'll die in the maze. But another part of him, the part that remembers what it felt like to laugh and explore with Ha, begins to wonder if his beliefs are the real walls trapping him, not the maze itself. Johnson uses this chapter to reveal a subtle truth. Beliefs can comfort us or confine us. When we hold on to them too tightly, they stop being tools and start becoming cages. The fear of change isn't really about the unknown. It's about letting go of the stories we tell ourselves about what's possible. By the end of the chapter, Hem begins to recognize that his beliefs, not his circumstances, are what truly keep him stuck. He doesn't move yet, but he starts to question. And that questioning is the seed of transformation. Chapter 3. Questioning Old Beliefs. For the first time in a long while, Hem begins to think differently. He's still afraid, still surrounded by the empty station, but something inside him shifts. He realizes that the old belief, the cheese will come back if I wait long enough, hasn't helped him at all. It's only made him weaker and lonelier. So Hem does something brave. He starts to doubt his own beliefs. What if my old ideas were wrong, he wonders. What if I've been waiting for something that isn't coming back? This moment marks a turning point. Johnson highlights that personal change doesn't start with a grand action. It starts with a question. The courage to doubt an outdated belief can be the first step toward freedom. As Hem wrestles with his thoughts, memories of Haw come back to him. How Haw once left the station and discovered new cheese by facing his fears. Hem recalls the messages Haw had written on the walls before leaving. What would you do if you weren't afraid? When you move beyond your fear, you feel free. Old beliefs do not lead you to new cheese. These words echo in his mind until they begin to make sense. Hem starts to see that beliefs are not permanent truths, they're choices. He had chosen to believe that the cheese station was his whole world. Now, he can choose to believe something different. But doubt alone isn't enough. He needs evidence, something to convince his heart that it's safe to let go. One day, while exploring a nearby tunnel, Hem finds a small piece of new cheese. It's different, lighter, sweeter, unfamiliar. His first instinct is to reject it. This isn't my cheese, he says. Yet curiosity wins over fear. He takes a bite, and it tastes wonderful. That tiny piece of new cheese becomes symbolic. It's proof that the world beyond his beliefs still holds possibilities. And with that realization, Hem starts to smile for the first time in a long time. Johnson uses this chapter to remind us that questioning is not weakness, it's wisdom. When we let go of old beliefs, even just for a moment, we create space for new discoveries to enter. By the end of chapter 3, Hem still doesn't know where the maze will lead him, but he finally believes that it might lead somewhere better. And that belief, more than anything, is what gets him moving again. Chapter 4. Discovering New Possibilities. Hem finally steps out of Cheese Station C. At first, his legs feel heavy from disuse, and the silence of the maze feels almost frightening. Every corridor looks endless, uncertain. Yet there's also something new in the air, hope. For the first time since the cheese disappeared, Hem isn't waiting. He's moving. With each cautious step, he begins to notice things he had ignored before. Faint markings on the walls, trails of scent, even crumbs left by other explorers. The maze hasn't changed, his eyes have. He realizes that when he believed there was only one source of cheese, he never noticed the rest of the maze's possibilities. Still, fear lingers. What if there's no more cheese out there? What if he's too late, too weak, or too lost to find it? But then he remembers something Haw had once said, when you move in a new direction, you find new cheese. So he keeps going. Along the way, Hem discovers small surprises. A hidden corner with a few scattered crumbs, a tunnel that opens into a wider path, and even the comforting smell of fresh cheese somewhere up ahead. These moments strengthen his confidence. Each discovery becomes a lesson in momentum. Movement brings clarity, not the other way around. At one point, he meets a new character, Hope, a small, curious mouse who has also been searching for cheese. Unlike him, Hope is unafraid to try new paths. When she sees him hesitate, she says, "You can't find new cheese if you keep looking where you lost it." Her simple statement pierces him deeply. Together, they begin to explore, and Hem's world expands. He learns that the maze is not an enemy, but a living, changing space that rewards curiosity. Every twist and turn teaches him that possibility grows with movement. As the chapter closes, Him and Hope find a small cache of new cheese. Not as much as before, but enough to share. This time, he doesn't take it for granted. He eats slowly, thoughtfully, grateful for the lesson he nearly missed. What you believe determines what you see. When you change your beliefs, you change your world. Chapter 5, Seeing with New Eyes. With Hope as his companion, Hem's journey through the maze becomes less about finding cheese and more about discovering himself. Each turn, each unfamiliar passage, each unexpected setback teaches him something profound, that his world changes not when the maze changes, but when his perspective does. For years, Hem believed only one kind of cheese existed, the familiar, comfortable kind that once filled Cheese Station C. Now, as he explores, he discovers many new types: sharp, mild, soft, sweet, crumbly, creamy. Some he likes, others not so much. But each new flavor teaches him that the world is richer and more diverse than he ever allowed himself to imagine. One day, while resting, Hem realizes something remarkable. He looks around and thinks, "The maze hasn't changed, I have." That simple thought changes everything. He starts to notice how the tunnels reflect light differently, how even the air smells fresher. His senses seem sharper, his heart lighter. Johnson calls this seeing with new eyes, the moment when perception expands beyond fear. Hem and Hope talk often as they travel. Hope, ever cheerful, tells him that when she's lost, she imagines the cheese is just around the next corner. "It keeps me going," she says. Hem smiles, realizing how powerful that kind of belief can be. He had once believed in lack. Now, he believes in possibility. At one point, Hem reflects on all the beliefs he used to hold. "The cheese will come back if I wait. The maze is dangerous. I'm not strong enough to find new cheese." He sees how wrong each one was. They weren't facts. They were stories, old thoughts he'd mistaken for truth. He begins replacing them with new beliefs. The maze is full of surprises. Every step teaches me something. If I believe I can, I probably can. This change in mindset transforms the journey. Obstacles become puzzles instead of threats. Wrong turns become lessons instead of failures. Hem realizes that even if he doesn't always find cheese, he always finds growth. By the end of the chapter, Hem gazes down a long tunnel glowing with light and feels no fear, only curiosity. He understands now that seeing with new eyes means more than optimism. It means freeing oneself from the blindness of old beliefs. The maze didn't trap him. His thinking did. Now his thinking has set him free. Chapter 6, Finding Freedom Beyond Fear. As Hem and Hope move deeper into the maze, something profound changes within him. The fear that once ruled his every decision begins to fade. It doesn't disappear overnight, but each step forward makes it smaller. The maze, once a place of anxiety and confusion, now feels open, a place of discovery and possibility. In the past, Hem's choices were controlled by fear. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. He used to tell himself that staying still was safe. Now, he understands that real safety lies in movement, not stagnation. The more he explores, the more he learns that the maze responds to courage. Hope notices the change in him and says, "You don't look scared anymore." Hem smiles and replies, "Maybe because I stopped believing fear keeps me safe." That realization is the heart of this chapter. Fear thrives in certainty. It feeds on old beliefs and familiar routines. But once those beliefs are questioned, fear loses its foundation. When Hem lets go of needing to control every outcome, he finds something better than security, freedom. Johnson illustrates this shift through small moments. When Hem stumbles in a dark tunnel, he laughs instead of panicking. When he finds no cheese where he expected, he shrugs and says, "Then I'll try another way." The maze hasn't become easier. Hem has become braver. He also discovers that freedom isn't about escaping the maze. It's about embracing it. The twists, turns, and uncertainties are not obstacles to happiness, but the very texture of life. This insight changes his relationship with the world around him. Where once he saw threat, he now sees opportunity. In one quiet moment, as he and Hope rest, Hem reflects on a thought that surprises him. Maybe the maze was never against me. Maybe it was trying to show me who I could be. It's then he realizes that fear had been his teacher all along, harsh but necessary. By confronting it, he's not only found cheese but also found himself. The chapter ends with him looking back at the long path he's traveled, from fear to freedom, and whispering to himself, I used to be lost in the maze. Now I'm part of it. Chapter 7. Believing in Something New. Hem's journey has brought him to a place of quiet confidence. He no longer measures progress by how much cheese he finds, but by how much courage and curiosity he feels. The maze hasn't changed. It's still full of dead ends, dark corners, and unexpected turns. But Hem's beliefs have transformed, and with them, his experience of the world. In this chapter, Johnson reveals the most profound theme of the story. Our beliefs create our reality. What we see depends on what we believe is possible. Hem once believed that safety meant staying put. Now, he believes that growth comes from movement. That single shift changes everything. One morning, Hem and Hope come across a new kind of cheese, bright, golden, and unlike anything they've seen before. Hem hesitates for only a second before tasting it. It's delicious, unfamiliar, and strangely invigorating. He laughs, realizing how much his life has changed. Not long ago, he would have refused even to try it. Hope smiles and says, see, you're not the same Hem who was afraid to leave the station. Hem nods. No, that Hem believed only in what he could see. This one believes there's more. That's the central lesson of this chapter. Beliefs can either trap us or free us. By changing what he believes, Hem has changed what he can experience. He no longer needs proof before believing. He understands that belief itself shapes the path ahead. Johnson illustrates this beautifully when Hem begins to teach himself a new habit. Whenever doubt creeps in, he replaces the thought, I can't, with maybe I can. This tiny shift doesn't deny uncertainty, it welcomes it. Instead of trying to control the maze, Hem learns to flow with it. Later, Hem and Hope come to a crossroads. Hope wants to explore a tunnel leading upward, while Hem considers another path leading down. For a moment, he fears they might separate. But Hope tells him, it doesn't matter where we go. What matters is that we keep believing. They hug, each heading in their chosen direction, free to explore, yet connected by the same spirit of discovery. As Hem walks on alone, he reflects on how far he's come. The maze didn't change, my cheese didn't return, and yet everything feels new. He realizes that believing in something new doesn't just change what he finds, it changes who he becomes. The chapter closes with Hem whispering a new mantra to himself. Old beliefs kept me where I was. New beliefs are showing me where I can go. Chapter 8. The New Way of Seeing. Time has passed, and Hem is no longer the fearful character who once clung to an empty cheese station. He's transformed, not just by where he's gone, but by how he sees. This closing chapter brings the story full circle. What began as a tale about loss becomes one about awakening. Hem now moves through the maze with ease. He no longer dreads wrong turns or dead ends because he understands they're part of discovery. Each path teaches him something, and he greets every twist with curiosity rather than fear. In place of frustration, there's peace. One day, he reaches an open chamber filled with light. The walls shimmer, and scattered across the floor are dozens of different cheeses, all colors, shapes, and sizes. The air smells sweet and familiar. Hem looks around in awe and realizes something profound. The cheese had been here all along, but he couldn't see it before because his old beliefs blinded him. He laughs, not at the maze, but at himself. All this time, he says aloud, I thought I needed to find cheese. What I really needed was to change how I saw. Hope soon reappears, her whiskers twitching with excitement. She beams when she sees him, standing confidently in the chamber. I knew you'd find your way, she says. You stopped searching for what was and started seeing what is. Together, they celebrate not by hoarding cheese, but by sharing it. This simple act symbolizes the ultimate freedom Hem has achieved. He no longer lives in scarcity or fear. His joy comes not from possession, but from awareness and connection. In his reflection, Hem summarizes his journey in a few words written on the wall of the maze, much like Ha did before him. Old beliefs keep you stuck in one place. New beliefs let you see beyond walls. You don't need to find your way out of the maze. You need to find your way into new thinking. This is the book's core message. The maze represents life, its twists and changes inevitable. The cheese stands for whatever we value: success, love, purpose, or security. But the real journey isn't about chasing cheese. It's about learning to adapt our beliefs so that we can keep growing, no matter how the maze shifts. As the story closes, Hem walks toward the horizon, the maze glowing with light. His steps are steady, his eyes open, his heart free. For the first time, he isn't looking for anything. He's simply seeing everything. Out of the maze ends not with escape, but with insight. The maze never changes, only Hem does. Spencer Johnson leaves us with a timeless truth. When we change what we believe, we change what we see, and that change can lead us to a life beyond fear, beyond limitation, and beyond the walls we once thought defined us. Conclusion. The maze is quiet now. Hem walks through its winding corridors, no longer afraid of where they lead. The walls that once trapped him now guide him. The silence that once frightened him now comforts him. He has learned the most difficult lesson of all, that change doesn't begin when the world moves, but when we do. He once believed the cheese would come back if he just waited. He once believed safety meant standing still. He once believed the maze was an enemy. Now he knows better. He has learned that the maze was never against him. It was simply reflecting what he believed. And when his beliefs changed, the maze itself seemed to open, light spilling into places that once felt dark. Hem no longer searches for the old cheese. He no longer clings to what was. Instead, he trusts what might be. Each turn, each new tunnel, each uncertain step feels alive with promise. Because now he understands that beliefs are like keys. They can lock us in or set us free. As Hem disappears deeper into the brightening maze, his voice echoes softly, almost like a thought meant for anyone still waiting in their own cheese station C. Don't wait for the maze to change. Change what you believe, and the maze will open. And with that, he smiles, because he's no longer trying to find his way out of the maze. He's found his way through it.